It is easier to build strong children than to repair broken men. If there is no struggle, there is no progress.
To suppress free speech is a double wrong. It violates the rights of the hearer, as well as those of the speaker. Some know the value of education by having it. I know its value by not having it. Find out just what any people will quietly submit to, and you have the exact measure of the injustice and wrong which will be imposed on them. Those who profess to favor freedom, and yet deprecate agitation, are men who want crops without plowing up the ground. The soul, that is within me no man can degrade. We have to do with the past only, as we can make it useful to the present and the future. Once you learn to read, you will be forever free. The white man's happiness cannot be purchased by the black man's misery. I didn't know I was a slave until I found out I couldn't do the things I wanted. No man can put a chain about the ankle of his fellow man without at last finding the other end fastened about his own neck. Knowledge makes a man unfit to be a slave. Fugitive slaves were rare then, and as a fugitive slave lecturer, I had the advantage of being the first one out. What to the slave is the 4th of July? There is not a man beneath the canopy of heaven who does not know that slavery is wrong for him. Slaves are generally expected to sing as well as to work. Slaves sing most when they are most unhappy. The songs of the slave represent the sorrows of his heart, and he is relieved by them, only as an aching heart is relieved by its tears. A man, who will enslave his own blood, may not be safely relied on for magnanimity. What I ask for the Negro is not benevolence, not pity, not sympathy, but simply justice. I should esteem it a privilege to set you an example as to how mankind ought to treat each other. I am your fellow man, but not your slave. The thing worse than rebellion is the thing that causes rebellion. It is not light that we need, but fire. It is not the gentle shower, but thunder. We need the storm, the whirlwind, and the earthquake. A smile or a tear has not nationality. Joy and sorrow speak alike to all nations, and they, above all the confusion of tongues, proclaim the brotherhood of man. The life of the nation is secure only while the nation is honest, truthful, and virtuous. The destiny of the colored American is the destiny of America. We succeed, not alone by the laborious exertions of our faculties, be they small or great, but by the regular, thoughtful and systematic exercise of them. Freedom is a road seldom traveled by the multitude. A great man, tender of heart, strong of nerve, boundless patience and broadest sympathy, with no motive apart from his country. Our destiny is largely in our hands. The limits of tyrants are prescribed by the endurance of those whom they oppress. A battle lost or won is easily described, understood, and appreciated, but the moral growth of a great nation requires reflection, as well as observation, to appreciate it. I would unite with anybody to do right, and with nobody to do wrong. A man's character always takes its hue, more or less, from the form and color of things about him. People might not get all they work for in this world, but they must certainly work for all they get. Power concedes nothing without a demand. It never did, and it never will. Man's greatness consists in his ability to do, and the proper application of his powers to things needed to be done. Right is of no sex, truth is of no color, God is the Father of us all, and we are all brethren. A man is worked on by what he works on. I love the pure, peaceable, and impartial Christianity of Christ. I therefore hate the corrupt, slave-holding, women-whipping, cradle-plundering, partial and hypocritical Christianity of this land. I prefer to be true to myself, even at the hazard of incurring the ridicule of others, rather than to be false, and to incur my own abhorrence. A little learning, indeed, may be a dangerous thing, but the want of learning is a calamity to any people. A gentleman will not insult me, and no man not a gentleman can insult me. My hopes were never brighter than now. The relation between the white and colored people of this country is the great, paramount, imperative, and all-commanding question for this age and nation to solve. I will give Mr. Freeland the credit of being the best master I ever had, till I became my own master. Experience is a keen teacher. To enslave men, successfully and safely, it is necessary to have their minds occupied with thoughts and aspirations short of the liberty of which they are deprived. A certain degree of attainable good must be kept before them. He treated me as a man, he did not let me feel for a moment that there was any difference in the color of our skins. They suppress the truth rather than take the consequence of telling it, and in so doing prove themselves a part of the human family. Religious controversies are always productive of more acrimony and irreconcilable hatreds than those which spring from any other cause. I had hoped that liberal and enlightened thought would have reconciled the Christians so that their religious fights would not endanger the peace of society. Men talk of the Negro problem. There is no Negro problem. The problem is whether the American people have honesty enough, loyalty enough, honor enough, patriotism enough to live up to their Constitution. For my part, I should prefer death to hopeless bondage. 1. And God make a majority. Without any appeal to books, to laws, or to authorities of any kind, it was enough to accept God as a father, to regard slavery as a crime. I had a wholesome dread of the consequences of running in debt. For no man, who lives at all lives unto himself. He either helps or hinders all, who are in anywise connected to him. Power concedes nothing without demand. It never has, and never will. Show me the exact amount of wrong and injustices that are visited upon a person, and I will show you the exact amount of words endured by these people. Let us render the tyrant no aid, let us not hold the light by which he can trace the footprints of our flying brother. From apparently the basest metals we have the finest toned bells. You are not judged by the height you have risen, but from the depth you have climbed. A man's rights rest in 3 boxes: the ballot box, the jury box, and the cartridge box. Neither we, nor any other people, will ever be respected, till we respect ourselves, and we will never respect ourselves, till we have the means to live respectfully. I will unite with anyone to do good, but with no one to do harm. Every one of us should be ashamed to be free, while his brother is a slave. Liberty is meaningless where the right to utter one's thoughts and opinions has ceased to exist. That, of all rights, is the dread of tyrants. It is the right which they, first of all, strike down. We may explain success mainly by one word, and that word is work. Work, work, work. I know of no rights of race superior to the rights of humanity. You have to take power. No one gives it. A man, at times, gets something for nothing, but it will, in his hands, amount to nothing. No people to whom liberty is given can hold it as firmly, and wear it as grandly as those who wrench their liberty from the iron hand of the tyrant. The silver trump of freedom roused in my soul eternal wakefulness. Education means emancipation. It means light and liberty. It means the uplifting of the soul of man into the glorious light of truth, the light by which men can only be made free. As a people, Americans are remarkably familiar with all facts which make in their own favor. No man, whose vision is bounded by color can come into contact with what is highest and best in the world. Stars shall fall from heaven. I have found that, to make a contented slave, it is necessary to make a thoughtless one. It is no disparagement to truth, that it can only prevail where reason prevails. War begins where reason ends. The thing worse than rebellion is the thing that causes rebellion. Your faculties remained yours, and mine became useful to their rightful owner. Truth shines with brighter light, and intenser heat at every moment, in a country torn and rent, and bleeding implores relief from its distress and agony. He was whipped oftener, who was whipped easiest.